But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
All right, everyone, welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky, episode 51. That's the 82nd episode. It's in Hex 51. So this week on our Number Go Up segment, we're covering Dragonchain, DragonNet nodes, and current total nodes is 1887. It's been going up a pretty steady pace for a while, and pretty much across the board, especially L2s and especially level 1 business, which is probably the most important, obviously. We hope that that continues. We have a few things that we're looking to do to help, and we hope that it is beneficial to everyone with what's coming for adoption. So pretty cool stuff. Next update, we have the LCP that ran through, and it pretty well went off without a hitch, or at least without anything major. We learned some things. We've actually gotten amazing feedback on some improvements, and we're already looking to see if it's possible to get some of those improvements in before next month. So 5 new layers will be created this week. The lot has already been initialized. Some of them for all of the internal lore committed are already in place. Any of the external lore will have to be claimed by you in order to get the lot, so that you can have the benefit and start earning matter when those layers start producing. One way or another, 5 communities. First was outdoors, and I'm going to go through that. All of the winning layers get bonuses for the people that proposed the layer, that envisioned it, and so on. So outdoors, Solid Seuss proposed it, is getting 5,000 lot extra, funded from Den's own lore. So Den's putting in the lore. You don't have to put anything extra in. You're going to get 5,000 for Islam. Aladita is going to get 4,000. Tenacious Dragon, one of our longtime favorites here, proposed art and is going to get 3,000. Health, Fitness, Nutrition, Jason is going to get 2,000. And in 5th place, Timo the Ward proposed TIL, Today I Learned, and is going to get 1,000 bonus. Also, Den is going to put in 1,000 lore extra, as announced at the beginning, for lot, which will be used for promotional purposes later to further distribute. And all of those layers had a lot of people that committed lore, so there will be a lot of owners, which is what we want, because it's a broad decentralized community for each of them then that can I guess move forward faster, producing more content, so on. Another thing, the governance vote passed to do augmented LCP. So that is a general site-wide DIN governance. We put up an issue to do something that we proposed, but we didn't get into much detail about, which was to allow layers that did not win, like there's science and tech, potentially the NFT art, but there are a couple of others, to allow them to create the layer anyway with the fee, but with no ongoing fees. So we had 25 votes yes, 0 no, which is great. We had 5 community people weigh in. The next LCP proposal phase will start next week. We have some surprises built into that, so watch early. I don't know if we're going to announce it Monday or if we'll announce it on the show Tuesday next week, but some good things are going to happen there. And depending upon what we get built in, we might be able to plug in some of the, as we said, the different models that were proposed in the feedback, particularly the consensus versus lore balance. So anyway, pretty cool stuff. Next update, I think last update, we're going to talk about DEN governance, which is very interesting because the way that Dragonchain works, and since it's hybrid, we can do some very interesting things without the gigantic fees that people are seeing on Ethereum right now. Very powerful stuff. And we're going to get a lot more of it, I wouldn't say automated, but a lot more of it set up where there will be an actual user interface to the governance. Right now, you pretty much sign a message and you post it as a reply, and that's how we're doing voting. So anybody who hasn't seen that, it's very interesting. Anybody can verify the votes. It's all pretty clean. And we've already had five successful decentralized governance votes in I think 3 weeks. So we just turned it all on, and it's there are already more community votes, more lot held by community than by DEN itself, which was a big goal that I didn't actually expect to see for 6 or 8 months, and we were there pretty fast. So DEN has 20 votes, community has 26 votes. So there are 14 remaining lot governance tokens available if you want to participate in the coming year. And these last for the full calendar year. So at the end of the calendar year, they will flip over to 2022, and you'll have to either, I guess, convert your tokens over or drop them, but you'll get another chance to get in. But we have 14 left, so go and do that. If you have questions, do let us know. So that's all the updates. We have some pretty good stuff coming. Hopefully, more Dragonchain updates next week. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, of course. And we'll be back right after this with our guests.
On January 7th, 2020, Dragonchain hosted a 24-hour live demonstration during which 250 million transactions were executed fully on an operational network. Every single transaction on Dragonchain is decentralized immediately through 5 levels of DragonNet, and then secured with combined proof on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, and Binance Chain, via Interchain. This means that every single transaction is secured by, and traceable to these networks. An attack on this system would require a simultaneous attack on all of the interchained networks. The demonstration was of a single business system, and any user is able to scale this further by running multiple systems simultaneously. Our goal for the event was to demonstrate consistent capacity greater than that of Visa over an extended time period. The event illustrates the level of scaling possible with Dragonchain's operational network and interchain capabilities.
All right. Welcome our guests, Gerard, Dache, and Mark Wasser. And I hope I remembered the pronunciations right. I tried. Very good. Welcome to the show. So Gerard is Executive Director of the Government Blockchain Association, and Mark Wasser is the Chief Technology Officer of GBA. Welcome. Can you guys introduce yourselves?
Sure. Mark, why don't you go first?
Sure. I'm Mark Wasser. I'm Chief Technical Officer, as he said, of the Government Blockchain Association. As such, I am in charge of all the various intriguing projects that we get to do. I don't really have a job. I just get to play with toys all day.
That's nice.
And I'm the guy responsible to getting him all the toys to play. So my name is Gerard Dache, Executive Director of the Government Blockchain Association. My background is in government contracting. I spent some time in the military in Army intelligence and infantry, and I've then got in the government contracting space. We started GBA as a meetup in October of 2016. Today we've got about, depending on how you count it, 15 to 20,000 folks connected to our communities. We have about 120 chapters around the world and about 50 working groups.
Wow,
yeah, so it was, we became an association in October. Well, we put our head down and started working in October 2017. So most of this growth happened really fast, and then in the first year. Then the second year, we really focused on kind of maturing the organization, and then COVID hit. And then last year was all about transitioning. So that's a
Right.
little bit about my background.
Right. Very good. Okay. Gerard, we just announced our partnership with GBA and Dragonchain. Can you explain, I guess what brought it about? How you came into contact with us, and a little bit about what we've talked about for leveraging each other's networks and organizations.
Well, how it came about is kind of a blur. I get about 150 to 250 email messages a day, right? Just on one of my accounts, and then you got LinkedIn and then all the other platforms, right? Telegram and chat and just I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, right?
Yes.
How this whole thing came together, but I did know we've been talking for a while, and we're really I'm really terrible at membership development. I mean, I know that sounds really, really weird, but what happened was when we started, we had this idea, and so we went to some of the big players and we said, "Hey, look, we got this idea that we want to do," and they kind of patted us on the head and they said, "Run along, little boy. We've seen people like you all the time. Come back in 5 years and we'll see if you're still around, right?"
Yeah.
And so I turned to my running buddy at the time, and incidentally, Mark was at the very first meetup we ever did. He doesn't remember it, actually. He's attended several.
I remember it.
You did the one in the Tower Club, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So I said to my running buddy at the time, I said, we're not going to ask another person for a dime. What we're going to do is we're going to put our head down and we're going to run so fast and so hard, right? And then when we get down the road, we'll turn around and we'll see who's with us. So from that point forward, our focus was exclusively on developing value, right? And I didn't give a rip about who joined us or who didn't. I was just there at the party when they showed up, right? And that's what pretty much happened with Dragonchain, right? I don't think we never tried to get Dragonchain in, although Dragonchain is a very, very high value member. We just focused on doing what we could to create an environment where Dragonchain would want to join. And then once they get in the room, then we start talking about, well, how do we really make this thing fly? So, Joe, I'd be interested from your perspective, what you saw and how this thing came together.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will say that, my guys brought it to us. And it's like, I think we should join this. We have a partner who is also very, a lot of the community knows, Phil, that has been working a lot of different angles in different areas. And, we're hitting upon a lot of government work, coming up and some, potential to really provide some value where it's needed. You guys made total sense. And I actually don't know. That's why I was actually wondering. I don't know how we got together and how it developed, but I know once it came in, it's like, it makes total sense. So we didn't have any question after we looked at what you guys were building. So, and have already built, right? So, yeah. So Mark, let's see here. I have on here, what was it, on the technical side? So, because you're dealing with, the multiple blockchains and how people are using them. So, what's the greatest accomplishment so far in your org in GBA that you, at least in your opinion, right?
Sure, absolutely. So the core of the GBA technology and our crown jewel thus far is the government business blockchain platform. And what that actually is it's a blockchain interconnection fabric. What we're doing is we're connecting to every single blockchain that wants to connect to us, and we're making it so that there's one central location where you can buy or obtain blockchain services from any blockchain. We have a utility token so that we can transmit value, i.e. money, across the system. So people can come in and from one interface, they can buy services from a wide variety of locations. We also provide interconnection services for non-blockchain systems, and this is particularly useful for government type applications. If we connect, the other blockchains don't have to. Our core is a private proof of authority Ethereum network. It's Hyperledger Besu. We then use gateways to connect to any other blockchain willing to connect, for instance, Dragonchain. And for any given connection, we can have as many gateways as necessary. They're designed to be distributed. So fundamentally, the system has the standard blockchain resilience, even though we're doing it across blockchains. You can shoot any number of gateways down. As long as you don't succeed in getting all of them, we'll continue ticking.
That's a good approach. Very good approach. Okay. All right. So let's see here, Mark. You already. I have questions here, but you've already answered a couple of them. So I have to like. So you have to forgive me. About how long you've been around. By the way, timing for when you guys started is probably pretty good. That's, you know, that period was right before things took off, and then right before they fell in 2018. But the ability at least to build during that period was powerful, because we had pretty much the same timeline. So
actually, what's interesting is the GBA started out primarily in an advisory and teaching capacity, and we actually only pivoted to technology about a year and a half ago, a little bit longer. So we're actually going gangbusters and have put up this much technology this quickly. Our most recent achievement actually is that we can support Besu nodes on Raspberry Pis, the little $100 hobbyist computers, and we'll be spreading out our blockchain pretty much all over the world. As Gerard mentioned, we have a lot of overseas chapters. Yep, that's it. So are you volunteering to run one of our nodes? We have a meeting this Saturday to help you set it up.
Possibly. I actually have like our whole thing. We did the same thing. We have people who run Dragonchain verification nodes on Pis, right? So we're trying to get the footprint down as small as possible. We have plans. Actually, a funny thing, we have plans to run some of the verification nodes inside of web services that you can run it in Apache or even in a WordPress site if you wanted. But we don't have time, so we haven't had time to implement that yet. But just so people know, it's like if you can get stuff down to the extremely small footprint, then you can, we talked about it on Twitter recently. You could run a black box in a Tesla or any auto, right? You could do all types of things that could be really valuable. So
yeah, and especially it's interesting that you mentioned Tesla because of the recent announcement that they would accept Bitcoin. But Tesla will never accept Ethereum. You know why, right?
Why is that?
They run on gas.
Oh, geez, that's horrible. That's horrible. That's horrible. Okay, no, that's good. That's good. No, and will they accept Doge? That's the other question, right?
Right, exactly.
I have no idea. No, I think I want to buy a Tesla, but with some Bitcoin, right? I think I want to do that. Or do they accept it yet? Or is
are you going to ask the same question they ask about Bitcoin, right? I'll buy Bitcoin when the price drops, right? I'll buy Tesla when the price drops. Yeah. I'm just waiting for a dip in the market.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I haven't looked this morning, but it happened yesterday at least, right? So,
yeah.
Funny.
Not for long, I don't think. I think it's back over 50. But,
okay. Well, that's good. That's good.
I want to go back to timing for a second because, so we've I talk about two things, right? I talk about creating a fabric of people, right, through the working groups, the chapters, and stuff like that, and creating a fabric of technology, right, which Mark has been instrumental in. And they're both important. But I would say that when I first started GBA, what everybody said to me was, talk to me about blockchain, but don't talk to me about crypto, right? Because this was about the time that the ICO thing was really crashed. In August of 2016, we were a meetup, right? Our first meetup had 2 or 3 people show up, right? Mark was one of them, and then we were a meetup until October of 2017, right? And so October 2017 is when we put our head down. We started running. Well, that's around the time that the ICOs were coming up over and crashing, right? And the security regulations and the enforcement actions and all that stuff. So we were literally like a fish swimming uphill, right? I mean, it was tough, Once we kind of, demonstrated that we could sort of survive that. And Mark, the idea about the technology really started as a token, right? We wanted to build the GBA token. And man, we were hitting our heads against the wall for a year and not making any progress, right? We knew we'd have to put it on we want to put it on our own platform. And then Mark came along, and then when Mark came along, it was like the match that hit the gas, right? And the thing just because of his leadership. Mark is. I knew he was brilliant the first time I met him. Then he moved away, and then we reconnected. But I will say that as much as we are about technology, you can't forget about the people, right? Because we're really all about building people, and the technology is just a tool to build the people.
Oh yeah. We had a lot of really good results from early on when we were inside of Disney, where we did. We had 2 courses that we provided to their global education, network, and they ended up being the 2 most attended courses in the entire company. And one of them was on business application fundamentals for business, but then the other was on the technical. And what we focused on, instead of saying, oh, here's a use case that you could do this, payments or something like that, we focused on the fundamentals, on what you can do, what this proves, how you can prove that this hasn't changed, and it was really interesting because we would get people to come back to us, and it was always the same thing. They'd always come as like, hey, this might be crazy, this might be a really stupid idea, but I think that I could solve this problem I have with those, I guess, pluggable components of capabilities. And they were never stupid ideas. They were always amazing stuff that we would have never known that they had. Because if we would go in and say, hey, we have blockchain, we would always get, I don't have any payments issues, right? Or I don't do payments, or they would oftentimes tell us, oh, this isn't a technical problem, this is a people problem. Yet if we went in with the capabilities, they would realize the people problems, or the issues that you have with typically with people that are not in your group, right? It's like maybe an outside group that we found that we could really show them how to give them transparency, but then also incentivize them to follow a process, or to do things the right way. It was always really interesting. So the education's hugely important. And we even started with a meetup in Seattle in 2016 as well. So same thing. And with COVID, it's not really been continued much, but it's still there. So, we'll probably pick it back up as soon as Washington State stops, keeping us inside the house and everything. So, okay, next, let's see here. Gerard, regulatory, and you mentioned regulatory environment. Does it affect GBA and your, what your mission is with GBA? If you have a token, it potentially could fall in, but when you're working with your, the members, does that come into play? Do you have to deal with?
Yeah, I mean, I think that blockchain and cryptocurrency tokens, whatever, are just 2 sides of the same coin, because you're, pardon the pun, but what you're doing is you're moving value, right? And people ask us all the time, well, why did you pick the name Government Blockchain Association? Because you're in the healthcare, supply chain, all of these different. If anybody goes to gbaglobal.org /working-groups, you'll see we got 50 working groups, and a lot of them is like gaming and all sorts of different stuff. They're like, well, why'd you pick government? And so my response to them was, oh, hang on, do you need the keys? My response to them was, blockchain is all about the movement of value, right? And tell me, what movement of value does government not care about? I mean, if you're going to be a hairdresser, right, you're going to have to get a license from the state, right? You can't literally do anything involving the movement of value that the government's not interested in, right?
Yeah.
And so from that, blockchain really impacts everything. And then if the government's interested in it, now regulation steps in, right? And quite frankly, this is such a new technology. Governments around the world are in total confusion about it. And governments use the banks to monitor, influence, and control, right? Well, now the banks are in total confusion about it, right? And so all of these pieces that fit together are in some set of disarray.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So whenever somebody goes out to build a blockchain solution that moves value, now they got to ask themselves, well, how does this impact from a regulatory standpoint? So we're at the intersection of the future of money, governance, and the law. Right. We're right there in the center. So from a governance standpoint, we're trying to help them understand what do they do, because they're caught between a rock and a hard place. Right. They want to maintain control, right, which essentially drives innovation outside of their jurisdiction, right? They want to, but however, they want to attract innovation and create the environment where they're free and open to do that. So governments, this whole paradigm is shifting, right? In fact, I think that we're going to move from the concept of government to governance, right? And you got a lot of power players in there that they're struggling, right? It's like the old Dr. Doolittle, push me, pull you, right?
Yeah.
Government also is an industry that's ripe for blockchain. Right now, most government agencies do exactly the same thing with different siloed systems. If you could white box a number of systems and then give them to a wide variety of jurisdictions, they could advance much more quickly. They can communicate to one another. Government is very much about just data and documentation more than anything else, and making sure that it's accurate. And blockchain fulfills all these needs. It gives you immutable documentation. It basically certifies who you are, only lets people play with things according to their permissions. And while I'm not a fan of just cryptocurrency for the sake of cryptocurrency, I very much am a fan of incentives and ways to convince people to do things and feed data to the system and make it all work together.
Yeah. And Joe, let me give you an example. I do want Mark to either Mark or I can explain about the point that he just made about all of these governments essentially are doing the same thing. So let me hit that first, because I want to come back to regulation. If you think about it, every municipality in the world has got to buy, build, maintain its own technology for, say, issuing marriage licenses, right, or fishing licenses, or business licenses, right, or haircutting licenses, right. So if you could build a solution on a blockchain, right, and like Mark said, white box it and make it available to every municipality in the world, right, instead of them all duplicating the exact same technology, they could all share that same essentially resource. So then when Bob and Mary go to pay for their marriage license, right, the local county keeps a little bit. Some of it goes to the node hosts, right, and then some of it goes to the organization that built the solution.
Yep.
And so what you're doing is you're bringing down the cost of government for literally every municipality in the world, so that they have more resources to develop to allocate towards their constituents. Right. And for the solution providers, you're creating an incredible market opportunity. Right. So if we could get applications that are built on Dragonchain to connect to this, essentially think of it as a government Apple store, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the store. So the government can say, you know what, we need a building permit solution, we need marriage licenses, we need a voting solution, we need whatever, right? Let's just buy it here, and it comes right off of the solution provider that's built on Dragonchain.
Yeah, that's the goal, and that's the thing is the way that if we were to connect to you, the great thing is that Dragonchain it's hybrid, so it's built it's built to connect with real world systems as well as blockchains. So theoretically, you should be able to very quickly, provide services like that with even traditional interfaces. That the citizen would not have to know. We wouldn't have to have a hardware wallet and have MetaMask installed and all that. They would just use the website for my city, and I'm going to turn on. I'm going to get my license. I'm going to get my fishing license, my marriage license. I'm going to turn on my municipal services, and it's all right there. And it happens to be on blockchain, and even though it's a small town, it happens to be very featureful, right? So that would be amazing, right?
And listen, I really believe that the Jiminy Cricket's, man, the world is a big market, right? And if anybody comes in and says we're going to capture 100% of this market, right? That's not smart. But when we come together as communities, right? There are large organizations, big companies, right? Some of them have 3 letters, right? And they want to capture all of the government market, and they've been there for a million years, right? And you generally you can't compete with them because they have such a rich, deep set of resources, and they've got credibility, right? So how do all these small companies compete with that? You can be a sub, but oftentimes those subs get cut out of deals, right? This way, it's a framework that all of these small companies can come together and create something really powerful and can compete with any other, company. We're writing an article. Joe, you probably saw it, the draft that went out. And one of the things that's fascinating there is I think it was 4.1 million government contractors. 22% of all government contract revenue goes to 5 companies.
Yeah.
You also just said something. If you connect to us, you're a public blockchain. You have no choice. We can connect to you and just make your services available. So
exactly,
there is no if. There's a when in the next month or so.
Yes, and that's exactly true. Because we've done that a few times where we've reached out to other projects. They didn't get it because they're focused on what they're focused on. But if we've had a reason, we've connected anyway, and that's totally the right attitude because it's all open, and as far as we're concerned, it's all software, and in fact, every time we walk in for the first few years, it was, some people have said, it's not like selling hot dogs. This is a hard thing. It's very abstract. It's very new. Sometimes it's very scary to some people, and we've tried. Our whole goal was to basically knock out every single potential issue, fear for adoption that there was, on scalability, on cost, on the scalability of cost, on the flexibility of integration with real stuff, and then protection of data, right? So those things are the top list if you're an enterprise or a government agency. That when you hear from a regular consultant, that whether it's from IBM or from Consensus or Accenture and these guys, that they, in my opinion, don't understand what is possible. They're taking stuff. Oh, if you build it on Ethereum, or if you build it on Bitcoin, or if you build it on, that there are many things that they've been told are impossible that aren't. And so we've been fighting that battle for years now, and we're just starting to break through where people realize, oh, I understand it enough to understand now what you're talking about, which, the Dragonchain's case, this hybrid framework. So it's very interesting what's about to happen, because it's starting to, where some of these agencies are understanding it, and for whatever reason we've cracked through, that we have access now, at least. And exactly what you're saying, the fact that we can plug in to all of these facilities, and we have a number of partners that are actively working on municipalities, and that's for voting, it's for bonds, it's for the things that they do, and so I would like to expand it even when we're talking to you guys in the coming weeks to talk about some of that, because I know there's some things that you guys might already have built that we could plug into. There might be some things that we could provide into your network, onto the platform.
Joe, we need to get you guys scheduled into some of the events we have coming up. We've got an event on scalability. What is it? Scalability and something of scalability. Right?
Okay, yeah, no worries.
The other one is we have an elections event coming up where we've got people from the EAC, right, the Election Advisory Commission. We've got, some of the folks from MIT, some of the folks, a lot of the folks that have been sort of making criticisms about blockchain, right, about how it's not safe and not secure, with people with PhDs, right, that don't totally get it. I was recently engaging with somebody that said, look, we totally believe in blockchain. We want it totally open and decentralized, but we're gonna put all of our nodes on Microsoft Azure. And I was like, wait a minute, you're putting all of your nodes on one company's tech platform, and you think that that's a blockchain, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. So we have to fight against all that. I mean, not fight, but we have to teach them, and we have to help them expand what they can do, right?
Yeah.
So
it's a whole new paradigm, right? The whole concept that something can be more secure in public, right? That's a tough nut for them to crack and to get their head around.
Yeah.
Right. But we've got to just keep fighting the fight.
Yeah. And that's, we took our architectural approach where we, and this is something that I've been talking about a lot about lately on sales calls. It is basically that you can still hold your data, right? Because there's some cases you can't put, even if it's encrypted, you can't put your customer financial data or health data on a decentralized chain. There's too much for that. That encryption is going to break in 5 or 10 years. That we separate the data from the proof. That we believe that the actual utility isn't the proof being decentralized, because then you can selectively expose your data to a customer or to the public and prove that these events really happened at that time and this is unmodified data, right? And people can actually for themselves check. It's like, oh, I guess so, right? I can't really argue if you have a couple of $1 billion worth of Bitcoin hash power behind this data, right? I know it really did happen last March. So it's that type of thing that becomes really interesting, because once they wake up to that, then they're like, okay, we'll add that. I mean, why wouldn't we add that? We're already honest. I want to be able to prove that we're honest if it comes up. So that's typically what we're seeing, and it's actually working. So it's pretty cool. Okay, so I'll try the last question. So plans for GBA in 2021. What things are you focused on, and what do you expect?
Mark, why don't you start with the technology side?
So technology-wise, obviously, we're going to continue to build out the government business blockchain platform. We're going to be connecting to a number of different blockchains. One of the major things that we need to do is build out our marketplace. It's very rudimentary at the moment, and we need to make it so it's much more attractive and much easier to transition from being interested in a particular service to actually being able to connect to and integrate with that service. One of the projects that we're working on that's really, really cool as far as I'm concerned is the healthcare delivery blockchain platform. There are a number of pilots that they're talking about. We're working on the platform is built on top of a HIPAA-compliant blockchain so that we can collect medical records, store them safely, and then correctly integrate them with a wide variety of other systems. For example, if you're trying to improve community mental health in a given area, you can actually combine medical records, social service records, incarceration records, and things of that sort. Another sub-project for that is that in a number of jails, a lot of people come in with mental health issues, and they're either on meds that are incorrectly dosed and causing tremendous problems, or they really could use meds. A number of prisons have taken to doing intake, but then actually doing full medical and genetic workups and using that to inform decisions in terms of how to assist pharmacologically these things. Another advantage, we're working with a group from Duke University that is creating an open system so that you can get anonymous research data from a variety of sources. So as we collect more and more data of different types, we will be particularly useful, particularly for things that only occur in small numbers. One of the disadvantages of data anonymization is that you have to have large quantities of data before you can anonymize it. So if you have a very rare disease and all your data is siloed in different places, you can't actually get good research numbers from it. It really has to be in one location where then you actually can anonymize it. And we've got a wide variety of other cool and interesting projects, emergency management, charitable gaming, and the like that, again, we'll continue hooking those to the government business blockchain platform.
Excellent. Well, I'm hoping we get involved and, at least pass some of the ideas we haven't been able to develop that might fit better into, your networks as well. So there's a lot of stuff. Even what you just mentioned, there's some things that I was like, oh, we had some projects that I want to see built, right, that fit into some of those areas. So, okay, awesome. Okay, so where can people follow, GBA, the two of you, and see things? Somebody even in the comments asked, if you have a white paper, things like that.
Oh my, do we? Okay, so we have about 8 gigs worth of information on our site, right? So if you go to gbaglobal.org, on the main page, you'll see links to our podcast. I would say subscribe. If you join, anybody in government can join for free. But if you just want to sort of try it out, just subscribe to the newsletter, right? There's a couple places on the website that I would suggest everybody take a look at. Underneath the heading of association, near the bottom of that drop down is working groups, so you can see the different working groups you can connect to. You can see the different leaders. Yeah, under the resources, we've got a video library. I would go under the events page. We've got events on pretty much every topic. Most of those are free, right? And so in those events, if we're talking about emergency management or voting or we did one event not too long ago. We're actually doing a DAO. A lottery DAO, right? And we're standing these up for different states so that public sector entities like states and municipalities can actually launch a lottery DAO to generate revenue for their government programs. Nice. So so many cool things. Mark did mention the GBA Citizenship Project. I just want to mention a couple others. We're doing a cryptocurrency dashboard, right? Basically we're doing a report on the impact of cryptocurrency adoption on governments from the perspective of tax revenue collection, ability to monitor laws, just all the different impacts it'll have on government, right? And then we're creating a dashboard that takes data from public sources like different block explorers and communicates to public sector leaders the size, trajectory, and velocity of the cryptocurrency ecosystem.
We're also doing true open source, so you can actually take a look at all our various GitHub repositories. You just need to look up its GOVT, an abbreviation of government, blockchain, and then association, just ASSOC. GOVT, blockchain, ASSOC, and you can see all the code for many of the projects that we're working on as we work forward.
Nice. Mark, we should put a link on the website to that repository. I think that would be a good thing for us to do.
There are a bunch of those links throughout the website. For instance, when it shows you actually how to set up a Raspberry Pi with the GBBP nodes and the like.
We'll put it in the description here too. So, okay.
Yeah. There are literally so many projects that we're working on. We just don't have time to put out here. But the one thing that I would say that from a non-technical perspective is what I'm really excited about going in the future is we've developed a very strong capability to promote our members. right? And so, for example, with Dragonchain, you saw that this article. That article is going to get translated in 24 different languages and pushed out to news sites globally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we want to, and we do these events really for the purpose of giving our members a platform for them to reach and communicate and promote their products and services to more and more people. And so I'm just really excited about, yes, we're building a technology platform that is attracting a lot of people, but more importantly, we're creating an environment where lots of people are coming to engage with our members,
Yes.
right? And that's what, as we walk, peel the onion back on this relationship, right? And some of these calls that we're going to schedule up, it's all going to be, how can we bring the value of this network to the folks that are part of Dragonchain so they can become more effective and successful in their different businesses. And
Right.
that's really what fires me up.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks both of you for coming on. This has actually been a really good conversation. I want to hopefully we'll be talking soon. I think we might even have something on the books today. I saw something on the calendar. So in closing, everybody watch Super Happy Dragon Lucky next week again, Tuesday. Again, we'll have some announcements on a couple of interesting things going on, especially with Den, LCP. Also follow Real Denizens, Dragonchain Gang, and Jojo Row. And like and subscribe, all the normal things you're supposed to do wherever you're watching. Thanks so much, guys.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.